What is up, everyone? Welcome into the video. My name is Jonathan Messer, host of Booby Sports Show, and in this video, I'm going to give you guys my seed lines of where I think each team will lay in the NCAA tournament. March Madness is here. March is here. The selection show's in just a few hours, and I'm ready to get it going. I'm so excited, and if you are too, tap in. Let's go. All right, so first thing we're going to talk about here is the one seeds. The first three one seeds I have in pretty consensus are Duke, Michigan, and Arizona in that order. Um, it was Michigan for a while. Michigan was a clear favorite to get the one seed until Duke beat them in DC. What a game that was. Both of those teams are very good, but Duke took the firm grip on the one seed, and after winning the ACC yesterday, I don't think they will let go. So they'll be the number one, Michigan 2, Arizona 3. Michigan plays later today in their conference championship game. Arizona played yesterday, beat Houston. Moving to the fourth one seed spot, I do have the Florida Gators. They've been dominant the past month and a half. They were on a 12-game win streak. They got beat pretty badly by Vanderbilt, but luckily for them, UConn and Houston also lost yesterday. If Florida would have lost and UConn won or Houston won, this would be more of a conversation in my opinion. But I'm going to continue to have Florida at the one seed over Houston and UConn due to a body of work. I know UConn beat Florida earlier this year, but I think it's pretty clear if you follow college basketball and college football, they're not the same as far as head-to-heads go. In college football, we saw head-to-head get the spotlight shown on it. Miami beat Notre Dame, and Miami got in the college football playoff over Notre Dame. In this, it's college basketball. It's different. We have more games, more volatility, and just because a head-to-head happens doesn't mean that will project onto the standings or the seed lines. Last year, Duke beat Auburn earlier in the year, but Auburn got the overall number one seed. It's just how it goes. College basketball is a little bit different, and I think that situation applies here. Florida's body of work is better than UConn's, even though they lost to UConn. They play in a tougher conference, and they have a better strength of schedule, and Florida gets rewarded for that. Between Houston and UConn, it's just been Houston's kind of fallen off a little bit towards the end of conference play. Now, they went through the conference tournament, they won games, and they got to the conference championship. That's good. But those few losses that they took, I believe it was 3 in a row, it's kind of hard for me to put UConn below them. So I think that's a pretty comfortable seed line right there. Iowa State, Purdue, and then the top two of the 3 seed line, so Michigan State and Illinois. That's kind of hard to decipher. All 3 of these teams have had their bright spots. I'd say Iowa is clearly the 2-3 in my opinion. There were times when they dropped the top 16 in February. Iowa State was a 1 seed. So they've been the best. Purdue had a really weird skid where they lost 6 of 11 games. They went 5-6 in an 11-game stretch. They kind of picked it back up, and now they're playing Michigan today in the conference championship game. What it came down to for me between these two teams right here, Michigan and Illinois, I honestly think the head-to-head, like I know I just put this might be confusing because I just told you that head-to-head sometimes don't matter, but these two teams are so similar, and their records, their WOB, their net, all of it is so close. I'm just going to go ahead and put Michigan State. I'm just going to let the head-to-head overrule it. It's that close between, honestly, these 3 teams, all Big Ten teams. Gonzaga just won their conference championship. Virginia just were the runners-up in the ACC championship against Duke. Now, you move to a very interesting set of teams. These 3 teams, Arkansas, Vanderbilt, Alabama. Arkansas just beat Vanderbilt in the conference championship. The score doesn't really represent how close that game was. Vanderbilt just got done dismantling Florida in front of a Nashville crowd. Alabama's loss to Ole Miss honestly dropped them for me. I would tell you, not yesterday, but the morning of the Alabama-Ole Miss game, I had it Vanderbilt, Alabama, Arkansas. Little switch up of the order here. Just be Alabama losing to Ole Miss. I can't justify putting them ahead of Vanderbilt and Arkansas with both of them playing in the conference championship game with how close these three teams are. And I can't put Vanderbilt ahead of Arkansas. Arkansas beat them twice, and then they just beat them in the conference championship. Moving to Kansas, I think Kansas is a very, very interesting team. There were times where Kansas was looked at as almost a 2 seed. I have them as a 5 seed. I think their volatility is just kind of weird. The whole Darren Peterson situation, eyes have kind of come off of it a little bit because he seems to be playing, but it still overshadows the team a little bit. I think that's part of the inconsistency. St. John's just won their conference tournament. They just beat UConn. Like I said, I was talking about with UConn, they just lost. They lost pretty badly. St. John's dominated that game. That was a weird series between those two. UConn loses the first game by a good margin. Then UConn comes out and blows St. John's out. Like, unbelievable performance. Then they come and get handled pretty easily. It's just a weird series. Okay. That's kind of, once you get to these seeds right here, some of it gets a little murky. We do have some teams who rose up a lot. And some of those teams I'm talking about are UCLA. Perfect example. There's a while where UCLA was on the first, they were first 4 out. They had a very, let me not say nil chance of making the tournament, but it wasn't looking great for them. And they played their way into a 7 seed. They were just dominating teams, playing really good basketball, got a few marquee wins in there, took Illinois to overtime, ended up beating them at home. That's a great win. Miami's another one of those teams. Miami, there was a time where it looked like first 4 out. There were times where it looked like a 10 seed, and they've been steadily improving. And they've been steadily improving their seed line. Kentucky, I've had Kentucky at the 7-1 line since January, and they have not moved for me. Now, they've moved up and down a little bit, but at this point right now, they haven't moved for me. I'd be surprised if Kentucky's an 8 seed. I'd be surprised if Kentucky's a 6 seed. I think that 7 seed line is really good for them, and it just shows the volatility that they've had all year. Some other teams who have improved a lot, their standing, are both of these two teams actually right there. Georgia and Ohio State. Georgia, there was a time where they were slipping. They lost 5 in a row. And it looked like, wow, Georgia's not going to the tournament. And then they came back steadily marching, beat Kentucky, beat Texas, and boom, here they are looking at an 8 seed. Ohio State was a bubble team 100 through and through. They weren't going to make the tournament. If you were to ask me in late January, is Ohio State making the tournament, maybe even in early February, I would have told you no. But here they are in the tournament. It's great. I love the story. They've been playing really good ball. They just lost to Michigan in a very close game in the conference tournament, but great performance nonetheless, and they'll be in the field on today, because we find out today, and they'll be at an 8 seed in my opinion. TCU is another team that has risen up the ranks a little bit. Bubble team through and through the whole season. Moved up, boom, 9 seed. It's great to see. Wisconsin, I should have talked about them earlier. Wisconsin was looking at a 9 seed for the longest time. Then they moved up to a 7 seed. Great, we're playing good ball. Had a little fall off, moved back to an 8 seed. Boom, now they're looking at a 5 seed. 5 to 6 seed range. As you see, I have them at the 5-4, so I have them as the last 5 seed. And them and Tennessee could be pretty interchangeable, in my opinion. Both of those teams had solid years, but I'm going to go ahead and give it to Wisconsin. I think they're playing better basketball right now. Tennessee losing to Vanderbilt, it wasn't a blowout or anything, but I decided to give it to Wisconsin. I think they're playing a little bit better basketball right now. Now moving to some teams who have kind of fallen off a little bit. NC State was one of those teams where I can't highlight very well. NC State was one of those teams where it was looking like, okay, at the beginning of the year, not so great. Okay, just mid-range team. Looked like a tournament team. They really picked it up mid-season. And for a while, I was watching NC State basketball. It's like, wow, these dudes are fast, they're athletic, they're pretty big, and they can shoot the ball. at times. Now, they've been slipping. I remember the Louisville game on Big Monday. It was the same week, or the same day that Kansas beat Arizona at Allen Fieldhouse. NC State was playing Louisville, and Louisville ran NC State out of the gym. Out of the gym. It was unbelievable. And during that whole game, it's like, okay, NC State it didn't feel like they were playing that bad. They were just not, I don't know how to describe it, but ever since then, it's been a steady drift, and they've kind of drifted down, and that's why I have them at a 10-4. They're one of the last buys. One of the last 4 buys. Another team who has kind of fell a little bit is Missouri. They are literally the last buy. Very volatile team. That's what you're going to see with some of these volatile teams. Good at times, not good at times. Missouri, very streaky team. Win streak, lose streak. Win streak, lose streak. Losing to Kentucky in the conference tournament was not good for them. Nonetheless, they've fallen. SMU. SMU at a time was a 7 seed. More predominantly this whole time they've been an 8 seed, but they were a 7 seed at some time. Now I have them as one of my last 4 in. They're playing in a play-in game against Texas. That's how I see it right now. Really bad fall off for them. Hopefully they can turn it on and make a run, because they have a great backcourt. If you haven't had a chance to watch SMU's backcourt, please do. The team that they're going to be playing against, Texas, bad fall off. There was a time where Texas's offense in the nation was top 5 in efficiency. They were moving. They were beating teams bad. They blew out Missouri. I mean, they were playing really good basketball. They played Florida. That whole game was contested until the end. The score isn't indicative of how close that game was. But then, losing streak, and then, boom, you lose in the conference tournament, early rounds. Can't do it. If you're a bubble team, you can't do it. Well, luckily for them, the bubble is super weak this year. One of the weakest bubbles I've ever seen in my lifetime. They're in the tournament. Lastly, Texas A&M. Texas A&M was one of those teams who started really hot in conference play. They were at the top of the SEC for a few weeks. 2 weeks, I believe. Florida went into College Station and just beat the piss out of them. Beat them by 20. From then on out, it's been a steady decline. But it's not been all bad. Just another volatile team. A lot of these teams are just super volatile. Nothing else to say about it. All right. Now I'm going to give you a look at some of my bubble. The bubble. This is where I got the bubble right now. Santa Clara. Let me tell you about how I absolutely love Santa Clara this year. They are so fast. They are very quick. They shoot the ball well. They're not super big. It sucks that they're not super big, because teams that are in the mid-majors who get into the tournament, who are really talented and very good, usually if they aren't big, they fall. One team I was really excited about this year was UNC Wilmington, because I thought they would make a run. If UNC Wilmington got into the tournament, I would have had them at least in the round of 32 probably. Lost in their conference tournament, not going to make it. I do really like Santa Clara, though. Look for Santa Clara to make a run this year. I might actually have to do it myself. So continue with the last 4 buys. NC State. I just talked about NC State. Just not great. The past few weeks haven't been good. Lost not in their first game, but in their second game in the conference tournament. They just need to be better. VCU just defeated Dayton in their conference tournament. St. Louis fell in the A-10 tournament. Gave them a little gift. They're going to be the automatic qualifier in the A-10. Missouri, like I previously talked about, very volatile, need to be better. Miami, Ohio. I'm going to give a little tidbit about Miami, Ohio. If Miami, Ohio does not make the tournament, we are losing sight of what the tournament is about. The tournament is about teams playing their asses off in the regular season to come into a tournament and be able to show the rest of the world what they've done, especially in the mid-majors. Most people, unless you're a psycho like me, are not watching mid-major basketball on weekdays or weekends. Well, I am, and I've watched Miami, Ohio, and they are a very good team. They're not the greatest team I've ever seen, not even the greatest mid-major. I don't even think they're the best mid-major this year. But they're a very good team, and to win 31 games in a row in the regular season is an amazing feat, and they should be rewarded. I am a Gators fan. That's been talked about a lot on the show, and I can get accused of SEC homerism sometimes, but a team like Auburn, you can't argue that Auburn should be in the tournament over a team like Miami, Ohio. I'll tell you why. Strength of schedule, sure, they can have the best strength of schedule in the nation. And this is not me calling Auburn a bad team, but you know what bad teams do against good teams? They lose games. Just because you play the good teams doesn't mean you should automatically be given something. That doesn't prove anything. Now, going to Florida and beating Florida, that's a great win. They have some great wins. They beat Texas A&M. Those are good wins. But it's not enough to get them in a tournament over a team who went 31-0 during the course of the regular season. We are losing sight of Cinderella's competitiveness and the overall fairness of the tournament if we're leaving Miami, Ohio out. I don't think they will. I think they'll get it right, and Miami, Ohio will be playing in their first round against USF. Texas, talked about them. I talked about SMU as well. They've just been slipping a little bit. And we've seen times where teams slip and they're able to come back into the tournament and make a deep run. We'll see if it's one of those two teams. I have USF in because I think they're going to beat Wichita State. That game is at halftime right now. USF is currently winning 33-26 at halftime. Both of those teams would be very good teams out of the American. I think USF has a better chance to go deep just because I think they shoot the ball really well and are very quick. They're pretty big as well. I think they're going to be there. Okay, let's move on to the first four out. Oklahoma. Oklahoma really played well at the end of the year. Porter Moser had his guys inspired to go play basketball. It sucks that they didn't click sooner because that team was dangerous at the end of the year. They almost made it to the semifinals. They almost beat Arkansas. It sucks that they didn't get it going earlier because that was a very fun team to watch towards the end of the year. Auburn. I just gave my spiel about Auburn. I don't care how many good teams you play. If you're not winning games, you're not going to the tournament. That's the long and short of it. That's what this whole thing is designed for. There's no reason Auburn should be in the tournament. And that's even in a weak bubble year. If this was even if this was an average to decent bubble year, Auburn might not even be in the next four out. That is how weak this year's is, and that's just how much Auburn really shouldn't be in the tournament. Seton Hall, I was really rooting for Seton Hall. Really hoping they'd get in. Just didn't get enough done. They played really well against St. John's, in my opinion. Game kind of got away from them at the end. Just a tough season to not be able to get in, but it is what it is. SDSU, just weird year for them all year around or all year long. Just not worthy of a tournament bid. Next four out, New Mexico. Same thing as NDSU. Honestly, I actually had New Mexico in. I didn't make any videos prior, but I had this in my last update. Not my last update. Which update? My February 27th update of my tournament bid list. I had New Mexico as my last team in. Well, they've fallen out. They kind of slipped at the end of the year. Sucks. Better luck next year. Indiana. Why were they considered a tournament team for so long? Well, they were considered a tournament team for so long because their analytics and their metrics were really good. Let me not say really good, but really good for a bubble team. They played in a tough conference, and they were in. The bubble this year was weak, so they were in for a while. Towards the end of that, I started to not understand it at all. They were taking repeated losses by 15-plus points. and they were bracketologists, known bracketologists who had them in still. I couldn't do it at that 227 update I just talked about with New Mexico. I had them out of the tournament as my first team out. Now they've moved into the next 4 out. Cincinnati's another one of those teams like Oklahoma. Both of these teams started really bad, but man, turned it on at the end of the year. If those teams were clicking at the beginning of the year, they'd be in. And it sucks because this year's bubble's so weak that if they were like I said, they at the beginning of the year, these teams would be in. It sucks. And then Virginia Tech, like I said, the bubble this year's weak. In a normal year, Virginia Tech wouldn't be sniffing the tournament. They're just here kind of in solidarity. Let's just say that. Let's go to some of the... So these seeds right here, a lot of these are... Well, pretty much all of them are. These are auto bids. So some of the bid stealers here. Akron, bid stealer. McNeese, bid stealer. Northern Iowa, bid stealer. North Dakota State wasn't. Well, I say bid stealers. Let me not say a bid stealer, but they are teams who were not favored to win their conference tournament and did. Penn just beat Yale today earlier in a crazy game. If you didn't watch that game, I'm so sorry. I feel so bad for you. Penn hit back-to-back three-pointers to force overtime. Overtime, they had a 4-point lead. Yale steals the ball off the inbounds. Doesn't do anything with it. Penn wins the game. Crazy. Cal Baptist beat Utah Valley yesterday in their conference tournament. Ended up taking that bid. Troy took the bid. Kennesaw State took the bid from Liberty. Hofstra took the bid. Wright State was the favorite going in, so they didn't necessarily take the bid. TSU also kind of the same deal. UMBC, same deal. Siena stole a bid. Furman stole a bid. Queens stole a bid. Idaho as well. Prairie View stole it from Stephen F. Austin. That team was really good. It's sad to not see them in the tournament, but it's nice to see Prairie View in here. All right. Lastly, so that's my tournament field. That's the whole tournament field. I think these are the teams that are getting in. Like I said, I'm not going to be 100% correct, but I'm hoping that some of it's pretty accurate. Now we'll go through some of this. This is my big Excel page that I made up in the beginning of the year, and where I've had these teams stacked up at. So we're going to talk ACC right quick before I end this video, and we'll go down the line. So ACC, let's just start at American East. So in the American East, obviously UMBC. In the American, I have USF. That game's still going on right now. Wichita State can steal it, but I think USF will pull it through. In the A10, VCU stole the bid. That's a true bid stealer. Stole a bid. St. Louis is now going to be an at-large team, but they're still getting in. Okay, ACC. I have Duke as a 1 seed. Dominant, the overall 1 seed. Dominant all year. Really good team. Elite team. Virginia at the 3 seed. I do have them at my last as my last 3 seed, but a 3 seed nonetheless. UNC 6 seed. Louisville at the last 6 seed. Miami as a 7 seed. Clemson as the last 7 seed. NC State as a 10 seed and being the last 10 seed. And then SMU as the third first 4 team. Out of the ASUN, it's going to be Queens. I have them at a 16. Arizona, dominant team all year, was undefeated for the majority of the season. I got them at the 1, Houston at a 1, Iowa State as a 1, Kansas as a 1, Texas Tech as a 1, BYU. Excuse me, I got a repetition. Arizona as a 1, Arizona as a 2. Houston as a 2, Iowa State as a 2, Kansas as a 5. Texas Tech as a 5, BYU as a 6, TCU as a 6. And then, oh my goodness, TCU as a 9. I can't speak. UCF as a 10. All right, we'll be better. UConn as a 2 in the Big East. St. John's at a 5, Villanova as a 9. Seton Hall not getting in. Big Sky, Idaho, stole that conference tournament. 16 seed. High Point has been really good all year. They are actually my first 12 seed. Would have liked them to sneak up and get an 11 seed playing the first 11, but I just don't see it happening. In the Big Ten, Michigan, dominant all year. They were seen as the best team in college basketball for a while. Very elite team, 1 seed. Purdue, 2 seed. Michigan, 3 seed. Illinois, 3 seed. Nebraska, 4 seed. Wisconsin, 5 seed. UCLA, 7 seed. Ohio State, 8 seed. Iowa, 9 seed. Big West, got Hawaii at a 13 seed. At the Colonial Athletic Association, rest in peace, UNC Wilmington. I love UNC Wilmington basketball. Go Seahawks. But Hofstra got it. 14 seed for them. Conference USA, Kennesaw State, 14 seed. Horizon League, 14 seed for Wright State. Penn, stealing Yale spot in the tournament, 13 seed out of the Ivy League. Metro Atlantic, Siena at the 15 seed. Out of the Mid-Eastern, got Howard, 16 seed in the play-in game. Akron came in, stole a bid. That's one of the bid steals that a lot of people saw coming. They're going to be a 12 seed for me. Miami, Ohio stays in the tournament, 11 seed, playing in the play-in. Missouri Valley, Northern Iowa, stole that conference tournament from Belmont. Sadly for Belmont, I'm 25 minutes away from Belmont. Local team, couldn't get it done. UNI gets a 12 seed. In the Mountain West, Utah State gets an 8 seed. Both of these teams, very close, but yet so far. In the Northeast, the Sharks, LIU, get a 16 seed playing in the play-in. Ohio Valley, Tennessee State, also about 25 minutes from me. They didn't steal a bid, but for a while, UT Martin, SEMO, both of those teams were really in it, but TSU just ran away with it. Really, really impressive stuff. Patriot League, Lehigh gets the bid. Poor Navy. Was really hoping to see a service academy. It's tough. SEC, Florida with the last 1 seed. Arkansas with the 4 seed. Vandy 4 seed. Bama 4 seed. Tennessee 6 seed. Kentucky 7 seed, Georgia 8 seed, A&M 10 seed, Missouri 11 seed, both last 4 byes. Texas, you're playing in the play-in, bud. All right. Southern, Furman comes in, wins their conference championship out of nowhere, 15 seed. Southland, McNeese got it done, back-to-back tournament appearances. Can they get another upset? We'll see later, I guess. 12 seed out of the Southland. Southwestern Athletic Conference, Prairie View. Like I've mentioned before, beat Stephen F. Austin. Sucks, but it's nice to see another team in there. Out of those conferences, I obviously have who I'm rooting for, but it's nice to see teams getting in, right? All right, 16 seed. Summit League, NDSU. This is not football, this is basketball. They're still good, 13 seed. Sunbelt, Troy, 14 seed. Gonzaga won their conference championship against Santa Clara after Santa Clara beat St. Mary's. Still got St. Mary's ahead of Santa Clara, though. Gonzaga, the 3 seed. St. Mary's, 8 seed. Santa Clara, the 10 seed. And Cal Baptist upsets Utah Valley yesterday. Wins the Western Athletic Conference. 13 seed for Cal Baptist. Thank you guys so much for tuning into the video. This is my final seed list right before the tournament. Let's have a great tournament. I'm so excited. If you can't tell, I am. This is one of the highlights of my year. Love it. And if it's not for you, then you probably suck. All right? Just playing. Everyone have a great selection Sunday. I can't wait to get on here and show you what I'm doing as far as my tournament bracket goes. I'll be making videos all week up until the point. Thank you for tuning in. Please like, comment, and subscribe to help grow the channel. Jesus saves. God bless.